Have you ever looked at a picture-perfect couple, bathed in the golden glow of fame, and felt a tiny, almost imperceptible crack in their facade? That hairline fracture that hints at something more? Something real, something raw, something that the flashing cameras and curated Instagram feeds desperately try to conceal? Today, we're not just talking about a celebrity breakup. No, this is far more complex. This is the anatomy of a modern myth, a romance that captivated millions, a dream that, for a time, seemed breathtakingly real. We're peeling back the layers of Zayn Malik and Gigi Hadid's story. A story that asks, what happens when the weight of the world, your world, their world, the expectations of millions, presses down on a love that was perhaps too fragile to bear it? What happens when love isn't just between two people, but becomes a battleground for family, fame, and the ghosts of their pasts? They were the it couple, the aspiration. But as we'll see, even the most dazzling constellations can collapse under their own gravity. This is about a love lost, yes, but also a family, irrevocably torn. Act 1. The fairy tale beginning. It all ignited in the whirlwind of late 2015. Picture it, Gigi Hadid, a supermodel ascending, the fashion world her kingdom. Zayn Malik, the brooding artist, freshly liberated from the global phenomenon of One Direction, searching for his own voice, his own identity. Their first encounters weren't grand pronouncements, no orchestrated press releases. It was quieter, more millennial. A subtle Instagram follow. A paparazzi shot leaving the same party. Whispers that grew into a roar. The world, hungry for a new golden couple, latched on instantly. Zigi wasn't just a hashtag, it was a global obsession. And by early 2016, they gifted the world the confirmation it craved, in the most intoxicating way possible, Zayn's music video for Pillow Talk. They were breathtaking. Young, undeniably sexy, wrapped in an aura of cool invincibility. Fans declared it soulmates. Tabloids screamed PR gold. And who could blame them? It looked like a fairy tale. But even then, if you squinted past the glamour, past the perfect poses, the fault lines were already there, etched beneath the surface. She was a creature of the limelight, born into a family that understood its power, its currency. He, on the other hand, often seemed like a man running from the very spotlight that defined his career, a reluctant superstar. She hailed from a sprawling, famously close-knit, and very public dynasty. He carried the complexities of a more fractured upbringing, still nursing the wounds from the relentless machinery of a boy band that had consumed his youth. Two different orbits, somehow, miraculously, colliding. And for a while, that collision was beautiful, wasn't it? It felt like proof that opposites don't just attract, they can create something entirely new. But here's the uncomfortable truth: they, and we would soon learn, fairy tales are fragile things. They shatter under the relentless pressure of the real world. And this particular fairy tale? It was already carrying an impossible burden, the weight of immense fame, the complexities of family, and the silent internal battles they both refused, or perhaps didn't know how to name. The cracks weren't just appearing, they were beginning to spiderweb. Act 2. Under the spotlight, the pressure cooker. Imagine living your romance under a global microscope. Every date, every fight, every whispered word potentially a headline. This was their reality. The early bliss, that pillow talk passion, soon found itself besieged. Being Zigi wasn't just a relationship, it was a brand, a spectacle. Do you ever feel the pressure to present a perfect version of your life online, even to your friends? Now multiply that by millions. That's the tightrope they walked. Zayn, by his own admission, wrestled with severe anxiety. The relentless scrutiny, the demands of fame, it was a stark contrast to the creative solace he sought. Gigi, while more accustomed to the public gaze, now had her private life dissected with an intensity few could endure. Were they a united front against the world? Or were these external pressures slowly, insidiously, seeping into the foundations of their bond, like water into rock? They presented a united front, of course. Coordinated outfits, loving Instagram posts, carefully worded interviews. It's what's expected. But behind the curated perfection, were they truly connecting? Or were they performing a version of love for an audience that demanded it? Think about it. How many of your relationships could withstand that kind of constant external judgment, that feeling of being perpetually on display? It's a pressure cooker, and something eventually has to give. Act 3. Cracks appear, the first fractures. And give, it did. By 2018, the first significant cracks became undeniable. Public statements confirmed a split. Polite, respectful, full of love, the usual script. "We wish nothing but the best for each other," they'd say, or words to that effect. It's the celebrity breakup playbook. But the separation didn't last. The pull, it seemed, was too strong. Or perhaps, the idea of what they represented was too hard to let go of. But re-entering a relationship after a breakup isn't like flipping a switch. The old issues, the fundamental differences, don't just vanish. Did they address the underlying reasons for the split? Or was it a papering over the cracks, a hope that love alone would be enough? The quiet hum of Zayn's need for privacy versus the very public nature of Gigi's life and family. This wasn't a minor disagreement. It was a fundamental dissonance. It's like trying to harmonize two beautiful, but entirely different melodies. At some point, the clash becomes deafening. The narrative of their romance, once a smooth, soaring melody, now had jarring notes, unexpected pauses. The public watched, still hopeful, still invested. Because who doesn't want to believe in second chances, in love conquering all? But as many of us know from our own lives, sometimes love isn't enough, not when the foundations are trembling. Act 4. A new hope, Kai's arrival. Then a new chapter, one that seemed to promise healing, a deeper bond. In 2020, they welcomed their daughter, Kai. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Zigi the couple, it was about Zigi the family. And for a moment, the world held its breath, hoping this new life would cement their love, provide that missing anchor. Becoming parents is a profound shift. It recalibrates your world, your priorities. For Zayn and Gigi, it intensified their desire for privacy, particularly for Kai. They were fiercely protective, a fortress around their child. And in that shared purpose, perhaps they found a renewed sense of unity. The public saw glimpses of domestic bliss, Gigi on her family's farm, Zayn's hands cradling his daughter. It was the image everyone had longed for. It seemed like the fairy tale was back on track, enriched, deepened by the miracle of parenthood. But here's a dramatic turn, one often overlooked in the simplistic narratives. A child, while a profound blessing, can also amplify existing pressures. Different parenting philosophies, family involvement, the ever-present tension between a public life and a private family. These complexities don't disappear, they magnify. The stakes, suddenly, were infinitely higher. And the quiet battles over privacy and family boundaries were about to reach a devastating crescendo. Act 5. The storm, the Yolanda incident and the final collapse. October 2021. The storm broke. Allegations surfaced of a volatile confrontation between Zayn and Gigi's mother, Yolanda Hadid. The details were messy, contested, and painfully public. Court documents, no contest pleas, statements flying back and forth. The carefully constructed walls of their private life came crashing down, exposing the raw, turbulent reality. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a seismic event that shook the very foundations of their family structure. Imagine the agony, the man you love, the father of your child, in direct public conflict with your own mother. The loyalty pulls, the heartbreak, the impossible choices. For many who've experienced intense in-law conflicts, this moment likely resonated with a painful familiarity. That feeling of being torn, of your family and your partner being on opposing sides. It's a uniquely devastating pain. Zayn spoke of wanting to protect the sanctuary for his daughter, of a private family matter being leaked to the press. Gigi, through her representatives, asked for privacy. But privacy was a luxury they no longer had. The fairy tale had curdled into a public drama, a narrative of he said, she said, with their daughter caught in the middle. The family torn apart was no longer a fear, it was a brutal public fact. The damage, many would argue, was irreparable. How do you come back from that? How do you rebuild trust when the fault lines have become gaping chasms? Act 6. The truth beneath it all, worlds apart. So what really tore them apart? Was it just that one explosive incident? Or was that merely the final devastating blow to a structure already crumbling? When we look beyond the headlines, beyond the drama, a more nuanced picture emerges. It wasn't a single fight, a single betrayal. It was, perhaps, an accumulation of 1,000 tiny paper cuts. The slow drift of two souls whose worlds, whose fundamental needs, were ultimately incompatible. He yearned for quiet, for an escape from the relentless machine of fame. She was born into it, navigated it with an innate understanding, built empires on being seen. He sought artistic solitude. Her career demanded visibility. He needed fiercely protected boundaries. Her family life, by its very nature, was more open, more porous. These weren't character flaws. They were fundamental differences in wiring, in upbringing, in what they needed to feel whole. They weren't enemies. They were, as Zayn himself once sang, two people who were raised in different worlds, trying to build a shared future on foundations that, despite their deep affection, were perhaps never truly aligned. The love was real, the chemistry undeniable. But love, as heartbreaking as it is to admit, cannot always conquer all. Especially when the pressures from within, and from outside, become an unrelenting siege. Some stories don't have neat villains or triumphant heroes. They have human beings, flawed and striving, making the best choices they can with the tools they have. Zayn and Gigi's story is one of immense love, yes, but also of profound challenges. They tried. They built something beautiful, brought a life into this world. And then they had to let go. Not perhaps because the love died, but because the weight of their worlds, their differences, and the scars became too heavy to carry together. In that letting go, they leave behind a daughter they both clearly adore, a co-parenting relationship they are reportedly navigating with care, and a legion of fans who will forever wonder about the what-ifs. This wasn't just another celebrity breakup. It was the slow, painful unraveling of a dream we all, on some level, bought into. A love lost. A family, in its original form, torn apart. And in its place, something new something. And maybe that's what makes their story, and stories like it, so intensely human, so deeply resonant. It reminds us that behind every glossy image, every curated headline, there are real heartbreaks, real struggles, real people. Have you ever faced a moment where love, as powerful as it felt, simply wasn't enough to bridge the gap? Have you ever had to let go of a dream, not because it wasn't beautiful, but because holding on to it was causing too much pain, too much damage to yourself or those you love? What does it take to rebuild when your world, your family, feels like it's been fractured? Share your thoughts, your experiences, in the comments below. We read them, and your stories matter. If this story of a love lost and a family redefined resonated with you, please share this video. Because sometimes, understanding the complexities behind the headlines helps us all feel a little less alone in our own perfectly imperfect human journeys.